Among all players in the NBA, Derrick White has been the third best in net rating and fourth best in offensive rating during the regular season that just ended. Yeah, I'm including all the players in the league in the stat. Without him, the Boston Celtics go from being a team with virtually no weaknesses to a team with certain vulnerabilities that would have struggled to achieve that number one seed. His importance on both ends of the court is vital to a team that's aiming to win its first NBA championship since 2008. And those who understand his importance best are undoubtedly true Boston Celtics fans. However, even though his recognition is on the rise and every front office in the league understands his incredible value, there are many fans who don't understand the importance of Derrick White. Of course, I'm not talking about Bill Simmons. The man tried to campaign to send Derrick to the All-Star game as much as possible. And even though his idea was mostly considered crazy, the truth is that White isn't that far from having a similar impact as a player aspiring to go to All-Star weekend. Yeah, some people might think that I'm crazy too, and they might be right, but first, let me explain. When Derrick first came to the NBA, many scouts considered his only weakness to be his playmaking ability. White had a shooting guard style of play when he played at Colorado, being an offensive combo guard who managed to shoot almost 40% on three-pointers.
Defense, White, right wing, long three. Oh, what a shot from downtown!
However, his 6'4" frame was that of a modern point guard. This created numerous doubts among analysts, despite his great performance that, coupled with his older age for a rookie, caused him to fall to the end of the first round. And it was Gregg Popovich's Spurs who gave him a chance. This ended up being the best thing that could have happened to him. Despite only playing 139 minutes during his rookie season, Derrick was in the midst of an improvement process that would make him a good NBA player. San Antonio's offensive system allowed him to master what was his greatest weakness, and White became an above-average passer playing point guard during his first few seasons. But what was most striking about him was actually something else. Despite his slender frame at 6'4" and 190 pounds, Derrick began to prove his value as a defensive specialist. Popovich continued to give him opportunities because of his intangibles and ability to contain other elite guards.
Jrue Holiday, rejected over the top by Derrick White!
Instead of stagnating in his role, as many players of his profile have done, White tried to make the most of those minutes in a rebuilding project to return to the elite scorer he was in Colorado. Of course, translating those offensive skills to the NBA is pretty difficult because you're facing the best defenders in the world. And even without as much volume as he had in college, he did manage to find that self-confidence.
We have gone up and down without either team.
He caught a body!
Derrick became one of the most important pieces of the Spurs in 2020. But the rebuilding San Antonio Spurs took the opportunity to trade the player to Boston and maximize the return. There, White got the role of sixth man under Ime Udoka. But it wouldn't be long before he'd earn the starting spot. In fact, since Joe Mazzulla took over as head coach of the Celtics, Derrick White started 143 of the 155 games he's played in. But what's even more incredible is that from the time he arrived in Boston to now, 2 years later, Derrick's continued to progress tremendously as an offensive player. During this season, White's achieved career highs in defensive and offensive rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, three-point shooting percentage, and free throw percentage. And he's finished just 0.2 of a point shy of tying his career scoring mark of 15.4 points per game. Derrick's improvement both on defense and offense has been stratospheric. Let's start on the offensive end. Remember how I told you that playmaking was White's biggest weakness when he came into the league? Well, this season he's led the top seed in the entire NBA in assists. With the absence of a pure point guard, most of the team's playmaking responsibility has fallen on the shoulders of Derrick and Jayson Tatum. And the former Spurs player has shown his ability to find the open man in a system full of scorers. But what stood out the most this year has been his progress from the perimeter. His college experience as the first offensive option has allowed him to shoot almost 2 3-pointers a game off the dribble. It's true that White's a shooter who shoots most of his perimeter shots in catch and shoot, from where, by the way, he's shot 42% from deep this season, but his ability to generate his shot with good efficiency has been really striking. In fact, his offensive performance has been so good that, as we said at the beginning of the video, he's ranked 4th in the entire NBA in offensive rating.
4 in the shot clock. White.
On the defensive end, Derrick had already demonstrated his incredible defensive abilities before this season. In fact, last season he was selected to the All-Defensive second team. However, it seems that this year his defensive performance has taken an extra step. White's the 4th guard with the most defensive win shares in the NBA this year with 3.3, the 4th guard with the best defensive box plus minus in the league with 1.4, and the 3rd guard with the best blocking percentage in the NBA, only behind Scottie Barnes and Alex Caruso. In fact, blocking shots has become one of the biggest draws for White's defense. Not only has he posted the 12th best season ever by a guard in blocks per game with 1.2, but his career average is second best by a guard in league history. You know who's first? Well,
Oakley to Mercer. Mercer on the run. What a play!
To the hands of Michael Adams. Ellison drops and
his defensive responsibility is enormous. Not only is he tasked with being the primary defender for some of the best players in the league, but he also has to do the dirty work. It's not uncommon to see White get into mismatches with players of much larger size, or in situations where a guard shouldn't feel comfortable. But for him, it's part of his routine. His ability to get bigger than his size is incredible, and it's one of the best adaptability systems the Celtics could have at their disposal.
Holiday fell for the fake. White says, get that out of here.
The defensive duo with Jrue Holiday could very well be considered one of the best defensive backcourts in the history of the league. However, his recognition is not at this level. Holiday's often considered the best perimeter defender in the NBA, and that's not just a casual fan talking. Jrue's recognized by many of today's greats.
You know, you put Jrue in any system, any coach is going to ask him to guard the best player.
Which is why Jrue's status, along with Porzingis' incredible interior ability, often overshadow White's defensive skills. But the truth is, he doesn't care about that. If Derrick's shown anything during his career, and especially this year, it's been his ability to adapt to any circumstance. After being the go-to guy in college, he's been able to build and expand a role in the NBA to become a unique player. His lack of ego has allowed him to extend his progression to the point of enjoying his breakout season at the age of 29. And his mentality fits any team that wants to aspire to the championship. Let me explain. We agree that Derrick White could be considered the fifth option in Boston, right? Or at least the fourth behind Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Kristaps Porzingis. Well, if there's one thing White has shown, it's that his increased efficiency proves he could be a third option on a good team in the league. Something that could probably lead him to sign a contract much higher than the $17 million he currently earns per year, which seems like an absolute steal for a player with his skill set. But no, the feeling is that Derrick has never complained about his potential offensive contribution and has always been ready to accept whatever role the team needed. So while some fans may not be able to appreciate his enormous strengths, every NBA management knows it. I can't think of a team where Derrick White wouldn't be a starter. In fact, I don't think there is one. Not just because of his good offensive game, being a third or fourth option with the ability to take on a playmaker role, not just because of his incredible defensive play, being one of the best defenders in the NBA in virtually every aspect, and being able to defend a huge variety of players. Derrick White's one of the most valued assets in the league for the simple fact of being a spectacular glue guy. That player who turns a contender into a favorite with his spectacular all-around game. For those of you who don't know, believe me, you'll find out.